give you, and we're going to try to rewrite that for a specific variable inside that formula. Okay? So to solve the equation for the indicated variable, we want to solve for n. Okay? When we look at that, on the right-hand side, we have multiple values or multiple occurrences of n, right? And if I just leave it that way, that becomes problematic. Okay? So what we want to do is just start going through this and rewrite it as s equals. Now I'm just going to distribute that n through. So it gives me n squared plus n all over 7, correct? Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by 7, right? Okay. So I'm going to get 7s is equal to n squared plus n. Okay. I want to solve for n, so I'm going to get everything equal because it's a quadratic equation, correct? So I'm going to get everything equal to 0. So that's what it would be really nice if we got to this point. Says, now remember, you got to factor, okay? With the algebra, that line of math tells me you got to factor. So we're going to go 0 is equal to n squared plus n minus 7s. Okay? Now, that's pretty ugly, right? You got multiple variables in there. We can't really factor that using A times C method or factor by grouping, do the same thing, or the product and sum technique. So what's the default way of factoring a quadratic equation? Quadratic formula. Okay? So, and that's going to be nice because that's what we wanted to solve for, right? That variable. So I'm going to say n, remember, is the opposite of b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, just be careful here, because when they talk about a, b, and c, that one is a, that one there is b. Those are the coefficients for n, right? Negative 7s, that's terrible. Negative 7s, that thing right there is your c term. Okay? So we go opposite of b. That would be negative 1 plus or minus b squared, that's going to be 1 again, minus 4. A was 1, but now c is the negative 7s. So negative 7s all over then 2a, which is just our 2. And that's what n should be equal to. Now just cleaning that up a little bit, we'll have n equal to negative 1 plus or minus 1 minus 4 times negative 7. Well, that product there is going to be positive 28, right? So I get 1 plus 28s all over 2. Okay? And I think if you were to type that in that way, you're done, you're fine, it marks it correct. But if you look at the way it's presented as an answer there, they do something a little bit differently. They come down and they say, okay, if I've got negative 1 plus or minus this stuff, 1 plus 28s, I got that all over 2. Well, that means I can do this. Right? Okay? Which still is not the same as what they have there, correct? Okay, still got that 1/2. So what they do, you see we got a 1/2 here, we got a 1/2 there. They factor out that 1/2, and I think they factor out a negative 1/2, don't they? Nope, just 1/2. We get 1/2. Factor out 1/2 out of there, you get just a 1, right? And then plus or minus this thing, when I factor out a 1/2, I just get the 1 plus 28s. Okay. Then they just type it in as 2n because there's not a plus or minus character on your keyboard. So they just type it in as 1/2. And then for some reason they use the associative, or sorry, the commutative property, and they write the radical first, and then plus the 1. And then they write the 1/2, the radical, and then minus the 1. Okay? You don't necessarily need to do all that stuff to get the right answer. Basically, the way Web of Science works, just like Math Excel used to work, is in the background there might be 7, 8, 9 different expressions that they're trying to match to. And if you hit one of those expressions, you're fine.
I have that answer on the next one.
So maybe it is. Email me that question off this for you. So here's what I hate this, but it is something we want to pay attention to. Just not necessarily maybe for this class, but maybe for like a physics class or something like that. That's a capital S in there, right? Okay, you put in a lowercase s and I marked it wrong, so it's not. That's a very small, minor detail. I'm going to give them points for it. But pay attention to that, because in like a physics class, you might have a capital S that means one thing, and a lowercase s that means something completely different, right? Okay, so we got to pay attention to that stuff. I'm not going to mark your question wrong because of that mistake. It's kind of silly. Anything else? Any other problems? You good, Jared?
I'm good.
At what? Okay. Any other questions? We're okay? Feel comfortable with this stuff?